Welcome to Love Your Coaching. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to talk about another coaching structure. You've already seen the TEA and the TEDA. We've now got a third coaching structure, which is very, very similar to the TEDA structure. The only main difference is it talks a little bit more about facts and feelings in the main body of the coaching session. We call this structure the focus coaching structure. We sometimes known as the 5S structure. Let's have a little look at it. Let's see how it works and see what you think about it. The first thing to say about this focus coaching structure is it's used in a very similar way to the TEDA structure. It is for longer coaching sessions, for sessions that last between maybe 30 and 60 minutes, for sessions that may be positive, maybe challenging, but definitely on topics that are of interest that need this sort of amount of time. It is also for coaches with some experience, coaches who are not brand new at coaching. They may only have had 5 or 10 hours of coaching under their belt, but certainly this is not the starter structure. We want coaches to already know a bit about how they can coach before we introduce this. And this structure is really useful as part of coaching programs, where you may use this structure sometimes, you may use a TEDA structure sometimes. And getting used to those two different ways of working is quite useful and helpful. It also is a good structure to use for one-off coaching sessions with coaches and lots of our coaches in training so that they really get to grips with this structure. I think a lot of it is to do with the alliteration in each of the stages. Easy to remember, easy to absorb. And definitely because of the notion of we're talking about both facts and feelings in this structure, it means it's really suitable for coaches who want to work through topics that are big. Might be positive topics, but also they might be difficult and challenging topics. So it's more likely to be used for that than for those simple turnaround, what are you going to do with something later on type of coaching sessions you might see. So that's a bit of an overview. Let's break down each of those stages. The first stage, the stage when we look at the topic, we call this the focus stage. The idea that still, as with the TEDA structure, you are still asking for what topic the coachee wants to work on, and you're still definitely asking them for an outcome. What do they want to achieve from today's coaching session? We like the word focus. It's a good word that works really well in that question, doesn't it? What's today's focus? What would you like to focus on? Where would your focus like to be? And so on. It's a synonym for asking for the topic. So that's the opening stage. The next stage, what we would have called the exploring stage, we call this the fact stage. But notice that word mostly. It's not just facts, but there is pretty well fact-finding going on when we want to find out what's happening, what's the situation, what's been done so far, who are the key players, what are the key things that need to be achieved, and the idea of the coachee sharing mostly facts, mostly information to get it out on the table. You can imagine some feelings will start emerging and we allow them to come and maybe ask some questions about it, but mostly we're getting the facts on the table. So this is the equivalent of our exploring stage. The next stage, equivalent of our developing stage, is the mostly feeling stage. Again, some facts may creep in, they may be relevant, but what we're trying to do is really get to the heart of how the coachee feels about the issue that they've brought. Whether it's excitement and exuberance or confusion or being really challenged and frustrated, the feelings we think need to emerge. And the feelings, when they emerge, can be talked about and they can start to move towards a bit of an understanding of those. So you may ask some fact questions. You don't have to feel that you have to be strict and not ask fact questions, but you can see there's a flavor of mostly feelings going on at this stage. So that takes us through most of the coaching session. We've broken down the end stage, the action stage, into two stages here. We firstly break it down into a learning, and we use the language of findings. What has the coachee found out? What have they learned? What have they learned about themselves? What have they learned about the issue? That makes it quite advanced because we need to have some confidence that we are going to get a good answer from the coachee, that they have actually learned something, that they have observed something about themselves. So it takes a bit of confidence from the coach to be able to ask questions about what they've learned. And then similar to the TEDA structure, we do want to ask about actions, the future. So what are the next steps? What are the actions? What are the ways of measuring the actions that they're going to take? And perhaps what are some potential obstacles? So you can see this structure, the focus structure, 5 Fs going down there: focus, facts, feelings, findings, future. Hopefully memorable, hopefully accessible, and hopefully following the same rhythm and the same flow of good standard coaching. I hope that that's useful, and I hope you can see that once you've learned the TEDA structure, this approach can easily be applied. Let's just compare those two briefly. So if we look at the focus coaching that I've just shared and the TEDA structure, we can see how they compare. The focus stage is the topic stage. It's an equivalent. It's just slightly different language. The fact stage links to the exploring. So the mostly facts here, it's the same as exploring what's going on, the issue. Mostly feelings is that developing stage when new thoughts, new ideas, new awareness starts to emerge. And the last two stages, the finding stage and the future stages, broadly, they are the action stage. Not identical, it's slightly more advanced when you start looking at your findings of what you've learned. But nevertheless, what you can see is that there is pretty similar. So I'm sharing this so that you don't think you're being taught a whole completely different structure from the TEDA structure. The idea is that it pretty well is a parallel structure with slightly different language, but also a slightly different direction of travel, focusing on facts and feelings. So if you've been following this series from the beginning, you now know 3 coaching structures. You've got the T structure, you've got the TEDA structure, and now you've got the focus 5F structure. You will see that they are not different structures, that they are structures that work together with each other. And they're structures that help you develop your coaching in a very similar style. My encouragement is use all 3. Get and see the ones that you like the best. Get to see which is most appropriate. You'll find that the T structure is probably best for shorter sessions. And the TEDA and the focus are probably quite interchangeable. And eventually you'll decide which was more your go-to one. I hope this is useful. Have a go at the focus structure. Let me know how you get on. Good luck with it and happy coaching.